Thomas joining us via the long line. Of course, Dykes, Cowboy All-American, and one of the finest we've had here play in many, many years. I've said this, Hart, and you have to even respond, but you're over the years, and we've had some great receivers, but you're the best receiver I ever saw play here with my own eyes.
Well, Tom, coming from you, that means a lot, man. I thank you, and thanks for having me. And I'm always excited when I can talk about Cowboy football and Cowboy football players.
Well, how about talking about Thurman Thomas? He did a lot of talking about you yesterday.
I'll tell you what. You talk about my best friend. We don't talk nearly as much as we used to. Funny story, my wife asked me the other day, Thurman and I, we used to dream together. And one of the things we dreamed about is whenever we made it, if we made it to the NFL, we would live next door to each other, and we'd have a pool to where we could swim from underneath the fence to each other's house.
Wow.
And sure enough, we both made it, but we never built the pool. We lived around from each other for years, and then, within time, he moved back to Buffalo, and I've continued to stay here. But our relationship is a relationship that will never be broken. I consider him to be a brother of mine. Spent a lot of great times with him. And I think the one of the stories that I think about when I first met Thurman, and we scrimmaged Thurman, Willow Ridge, I was in Bay City, big rivalry. Thurman, they come to Bay City for a scrimmage game, and I'm a sophomore, Thurman's a junior, and I didn't have no business playing defense at that time. And man, I went to make a tackle on Thurman, and he hit me with a thigh pad underneath my helmet. And I never told him this, but man, I don't even remember the play after that.
Wow.
But long story short, we played him that following season. When he was a junior, we made it to the playoffs. All week they talking about this guy Thurman Thomas. And I said, okay, and I'm a punter and playing quarterback and receiver as a sophomore. Tom, I went back, and the punt that week, all week, the special teams coach kept telling me, he says, don't kick the ball to 34, Thomas. So we get in the game, and, man, I had shanked about two of them out of bounds, maybe 10, 15-yard punts. And the third punt, I kicked it all the way deep to him. I punted it straight to him. And the son of a gun returned it for a touchdown. And that was the beginning of my introduction to Thurman Thomas. And we became friends. And then his senior year, which was my junior year, they were the number one ranked team in the country. And we came into the Astrodome. We beat Thurman them 42-0.
Ooh.
And my joke with him is always I sent him off to college with a good whooping.
Yeah, and you caught up with him in college a couple of years later because you guys roomed together.
Well, and that's the thing. Our friendship developed from the time I was in the 10th grade, and it continued. And once he went out to Oklahoma State, we stayed in contact. And sure enough, I ended up signing at Oklahoma State. He was the number one recruit the year before I was, 84. I was 85. I got to Stillwater. Once again, we knew each other from high school, but he was a year older. And I had to stay in the dorm with the freshmen my freshman year. And then my sophomore year, we moved out to the apartments. And then Thurman and I, we began to room together when he was a senior and I was a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, Thurman was always a great athlete. Love sports just like I do. I love every sport there is. And I never forget, man, Coach Jones had told Thurman, because they knew I played basketball all the time in off season because I just loved playing basketball, kept me in shape. So I told Thurman, I said, man, let's go to the Carver Center and play in a pickup game. And Thurman is like, man, I don't know, Hart. I said, man, stop being a nip. Come on, man, let's go over there and play a little bit. Sure enough, we go to the Carver Center. Man, I'm jumping. We having fun playing. And Thurman goes up for a simple layup and comes down and falls to the ground. Oh, my God, Tom. I said, what the blank has happened now?
Man.
And he couldn't get up. We went back to the apartment, and I said, man, what is happening to him? Long story short, the next time I saw him, he was in a brace.
Mm-hmm.
and they said, man, what were y'all doing over there? I said, man, we just went to play basketball. Long story short, he messed his knee up. He came back the next year. He was a good back, but he wasn't the back that he was. I thought he recovered from it. And they kind of, he had, I don't know what he ran for. He ran for still over 1,000 yards, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of put a knock on him. But believe it or not, I've never told him this, but I think that incident with him hurting his knee and people begin to question him, it just put a big old boulder on his shoulder, man.
Really?
And he carried that boulder to Buffalo and took over the NFL.
He never had surgery, though, right?
No, he had surgery.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he rehab? What was it?
He didn't have the ACL, the blown out surgery.
Right.
But he did have surgery.
Okay.
And he had to wear hey, Chip, come on. He had to wear a knee brace from that day on, and he wore it all the way through the league. And that's why he would have been a first-round pick if he wouldn't have messed his knee up. But I really believe, though, him hurting his knee and people began to doubt him, it just made him work that much harder to be the back that he ended up being in the NFL Hall of Famer.
Now, since we're being transparent and telling truths, the coaches didn't want you guys over there playing basketball at night. I mean, for that very reason. They have to think ahead, and we don't want somebody coming back hurt because they play basketball. Did that cross your mind when you guys went over there?
But the thing about it, Tom, they never really said anything to me per se about playing. But I know they didn't want Thurman playing because Thurman was the prize. I was just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Thurman was the prize. I even played in the rec league with the rest of the kids on campus. I always played basketball in the intramurals.
Mm-hmm.
But Thurman never played in the intramurals. I actually played, but Thurman would like to go and play around, and we'd play basketball. And Pat Jones was mad.
Yeah, I would imagine. Who was madder, Pat Jones or your high school coach? Because I know how mad I would have been when you punted the ball to Thurman Thomas. Who was madder?
When I came to the sideline, my special teams coach in high school, before I could get to the sideline, he had both thumbs straight to the ground, like, I told you not to do it. And I tried to make the tackle, Tom, but I just couldn't get him down, man. He scored on it, and that was the beginning of our friendship, and it's lasted 30-plus years, man, and everything that he's done, I've been so proud of it.
Tell me what you were thinking when you first heard that he was going to be the first inductee in the Ring of Honor. What went through your mind?
Well, quite naturally, my first response was, of course, but I thought they would have said Barry, just because Barry, being the Heisman Trophy winner.
Mm-hmm.
It's an honor. It's a great thing that they started, and quite naturally, I was excited for him. But of course, I've got to throw in the personal side of it. I would love to be in there also, Tom.
Well, you deserve to be in there. I'll tell you that straight up. So.
Well, I thank you, and I just want that day to where I can come in there and just feel the roar and feel like everything that I went through and that we did as a team, it was worth it. And let those things that occurred 30 years ago get in our rear window. Let's look forward, man, because if you keep looking back, you'll never get forward. And I'm just happy for Thurman. No, this is not about me. It's about Thurman. But Thurman was a teammate of mine. Thurman's a brother of mine. And I know he feels the same way I feel. But, I've never stopped loving OSU, man. I bleed orange.
I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you heard his entire press conference, but I lost track after about 6 references to you and your teammates. So Thurman is going in as Thurman, but he's carrying his teammates with him into this Ring of Honor.
Well, yeah, some people called, and I wasn't able to hear all of it. It was quite a long interview. But that's how Thurman is. Thurman's always, one thing about him, he's always been a team player, man. And he's never been a selfish guy. He's never been a guy, it's about me. It's about the team. And he was that way even as a player. He never even really liked the spotlight. He was never a guy that looked for the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
He just showed up every Saturday and got down.
He was and I can attest to that because between you and Thurman for a couple of years, you're either on the pregame or the postgame with me, so I understand. But Thurman was a guy you had to go find because he wasn't a guy that really wanted to get behind a microphone. Hey, I want to ask you this too. As an individual, I mean, you were around him off the field. I mean, people only saw Thurman running around with the football, occasionally on an interview. What was he like personality-wise? Because he didn't seem to say a lot.
Really, really a quiet guy. A guy that enjoys a good time, but only enjoys it with a certain few people. Mm-hmm. He's not a boisterous guy. If there was 30 people in the room, you wouldn't even know he was there. He's not that kind of guy, but he can fit in anywhere. And you wouldn't, if you didn't know him, you would know he was there. That's how I would describe him.
Has he changed over the years, or is he still the same guy?
I haven't seen him per se in different settings. When we do see each other, he's in town and he's only going to be here for a day and he's gone. But pretty much always the same. I used to give him a hard time. We used to play golf together, and he wasn't very good. He wasn't a very good golfer. And one thing about me is whenever I indulge in something, I go all the way in it. I mean, I would practice golf. I mean, everything about golf, I wanted to perfect it. And Thurman, on the other hand, he'd just show up, man, just lay on the ball, hit as far as he could, but he didn't take it serious. Mm-hmm. Whereas I was, on the other hand, I was taking it pretty serious. But we always had a good time. And anytime we get together, it's a good time. And I hate I can't be there this weekend because it would be a perfect opportunity for us to have a good time. But I sent him a text, and I told him, that I was proud of him, and I was excited for him, and I just wish I could have been there to experience it with him. But if we get another chance.
He made mention, and I truly believe it. This is not to go back a couple of months because we had this conversation with you a couple of months ago. But Thurman indicated he wants to be the bridge, if you will. Now that he's in the Ring of Honor, he accepted the fact he needs to do more as well to kind of get everybody back together again, get the connection. Using that overused word, the connection back with players and the school. You see this Ring of Honor maybe being a way that could happen where a lot of you guys stay in touch and do get back?
I would love for it to be. And I think, this first time, with Thurman going in, we're under the COVID restrictions. Mm-hmm. It's not a sold-out, thing. But I think if this thing gets the ball rolling, then I'm all for it. Because I think with the former players connecting with the university, all of us, in my phrase, I always use with guys that I met as freshmen at Oklahoma State, we cut our teeth together. And that means a lot to me because we were kids and we were just now leaving home. And we all became men over a 4-year period. And like I say, I stay in contact with, 5 or 6 guys on a regular that I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And so that relationship means something to it. And to have the opportunity for us to come back to Stillwater as one and be able to celebrate a guy that we played with or a guy that we cut our teeth with, I think that would really draw a strong crowd of former players. And I think guys want to be, I think they want to be recognized. I think they want to feel appreciated, and not necessarily as the Ring of Honor, but just appreciated for what you've done for the university.
We've had so many great players to come through here in the 40-some-odd years I've been around here. And I think everybody would say the same. But I want to ask you to go back a little bit. I've used this analogy, and I firmly believe that day in and day out, play in and play out, either in the game or in practice, Leslie O'Neal was the toughest dude I've ever seen play because he never took a day off in practice, never took a day off, whatever. Mm-hmm. I kind of equate Thurman to the offensive Leslie O'Neal because practice, as you well know, back then is a lot different than it is now, right? Every Tuesday and Wednesday, there was the middle drill, and that might have been the toughest contact we had all week, even adding up the Saturday game. But he never shied away from that. He was a tough dude in practice, and that's why he was good in the game.
He played just like he practiced. He practiced like he played. It was all the same. It was always 100%. He's full speed, you know. And I remember a couple practices, Coach Jones pulling him out of practice because he's full speed, and he didn't want to get him hurt.
You guys, take us back a little bit to those, and I know it's not that way, so there's no reason to be, clamoring for it. But those Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I mean, when you guys knew it was going to be contact. You knew you would end up going against the number one defense, and they weren't going to blow the whistle. If you got hit, you got hit. If you ran over somebody, you ran over somebody. And I didn't even for about 15 to 20 minutes Tuesday and Wednesday. I mean, there was a lot of headbanging going on the east side of Gallagher.
Yeah. It was dreaded. And I'll tell you a quick story to kind of give you an idea about how dreaded these days were. I never forget I told Coach Jones, I said, what's so hard about being able to score from the 1 yard line? Because I could never understand that being a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Coach Jones let me play tailback, the same position Thurman was playing, against the first team defense. And I got the ball and I headed to the left corner. And when I tell you, Dirato, my appreciation for Thurman and Barry and those guys that were toting the rock behind me went way up. I mean, to gain 1 yard from the one, it's unbelievably hard to do.
And then
I lost yardage, Dirato, to be honest.
You didn't lose much yards when you caught the ball, but that might have been
no. But lining up, because I never did it. Lining up at tailback, I lost yardage. So I from that day forward, I appreciated Thurman being able to get in the end zone from inside the red zone, because it's tough, man. The closer you get, the harder it is to get into the end zone. As a running back. When
you look back on 1988, now we're jumping ahead a bit. I mean, that offense you guys had with you and Gundy and Sanders, the War Pigs, I mean, you guys were virtually unstoppable. The only time you didn't do anything good is when you had a penalty or you fumbled the ball or whatever, jumped offside. When you look back on that year, I mean, you have to pinch yourself a little bit and say, that's unbelievable that we were able to rack up that many points and that many yards, and we didn't even play about 3/4 of the game.
I look back on it, and the only disappointment I have is we didn't beat Oklahoma and Nebraska.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And those two games, those two teams, they haunt me even to this day, Tom. The 4 years I was in Stillwater, we never beat Nebraska and we never beat Oklahoma. And we had the talent.
Yeah.
We just didn't get it done, man. And like I say, when I look back, and I never forget one time we went down to Norman, and Thurman was a senior. They were playing around with Thurman and Barry in the backfield together.
Yeah.
As a split back. And what a disaster. And I'm thinking, how could that have been a disaster? And we got two Hall of Famers in the backfield, but it didn't work. Mm-hmm. When they both were in the backfield, it was negative yardage. And we scrapped that pretty early in that game. But, they were both dynamite backs. Dynamite.
Well, it was a dream season. Hey, in the time we got left, I want to get to current news here. First of all, how are you and the family doing? What's going on there in South Texas?
Man, I couldn't ask for a better life, Tom. I'm doing great. My family's great. My dog is great. My son is great. I'm in the kitchen. I'm getting ready. I'm cooking a little something for my wife.
Wow.
And, life's good, man. I just turned 54 years old, September the 2nd.
Did you?
By the way.
54?
Yes, sir. I'm no longer a boy. I'm a man now, 54.
Wow. 50, that seems impossible. That seems impossible.
That seems old, doesn't it? See, that was the age you were when I was there.
You see, you can't be nice. You can't be nice for 20 minutes, can you? You just can't be.
Hey, Dirato, you walked into it.
I know.
You walked into it.
I kind of teed that up for you.
No, life's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me, because I don't know that we got into this much in our visits. Take us through from the time you were drafted in the NFL. You know, you got hurt and all that, but take us through the year or so, too, maybe, that you were actually playing in the league and made the team. How did that go?
Well, you know, the thing about I always tell people, Tom, is there's one thing first. I love my goal was always to be an NFL player from the time I was 8 years old. Well, I got that opportunity, man. I got to New England. And the funny story, Tom, here I am. I grew up I've been watching football my whole life. And I never forget, man, when I was drafted by the New England Patriots. I remember asking Thurman when they came in for my draft party. And I said, man, where is New England at? Because every other team is in that city, right?
Yeah.
Where's New England at?
Well, they're Foxborough. So I mean,
but they're called the New England Patriots because they represent the New England state.
That's correct.
Vermont, Massachusetts, yeah, which is a trivia, which a lot of people don't know. Long story short, man, I get there. I held off for a little while. Raymond Berry was my rookie. He was my coach my rookie year, Tom. And I promise you, if Raymond Berry didn't get fired after my rookie season, I'd have a gold jacket. I truly believe that, because he was a Hall of Fame receiver. But what he did, Tom, he took care of the receiver. He never put him through any rigorous workouts. You know, we only worked in the evening. We never ran routes in the morning. He just preserved us. And, man, believe it or not, I still feel like the franchise, they're under Robert Kraft now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the Sullivans, when I was drafted there, they couldn't afford to be in the National Football League. The funds weren't there to support the facility. I mean, Tom, I tell people this, and they can't believe it. My rookie season, we would get dressed at the stadium, and you get in your own personal vehicle and go downtown Foxborough. No, listen, and go downtown Foxborough and practice. Come back, get in your car after practice, go back to Foxborough Stadium, shower, and go home. This is the pros, Tom. This is not high school.
Wow.
My point, we had 4 coaches in the 4 years I was there. They've had 3 ownerships. And now when Mr. Kraft bought them, he had the money to make that franchise the way they are now. But when you're cutting corners, it's just not going to happen, man. It wasn't a good time for me to go there. I really believe that, you know, my career would have been different if I would have went to another franchise.
When did you hurt your knee? Early in the camp?
My second year, I never forget, Tom, I told you earlier, I used to play basketball in the off season to stay in shape. My knee my right knee was really sore. And I was suffering from, I went in, the guy said I had tendonitis. Mm-hmm. So when I went into training camp my second year, once again, we got a new coach because they fired Raymond Berry. They bring in either Don McPherson or somebody. I can't even remember. Long story short, I go in to see a doctor, and the doctor says I have tendonitis. He says, don't do anything for 10 days. He gives me an injection in my patellar tendon, tells me to stay off it for 10 days, let it calm down. Well, I go back to training camp. My position coach comes to me, and he says, hey, Hart, we're going to Arizona. We want you to only play the first series. Now, you're talking, it's about 6 days since I've had this injection. The doctor says don't do anything for 10 days. Mm-hmm. I go to Arizona. I play the first series. Next thing I know, I look up, Tom, it's the third quarter. Wow. I'm still in the game.
Wow.
And I remember, like it was yesterday, I told my position coach, Harold Jackson, I said, hey, man, my knee doesn't feel right. He says, go in, run a hitch pattern, a 6-yard hitch pattern, catch it, make a play, and I'm going to take you out the game. Tom, I ran a 6-yard route, jumped up, caught the ball, my kneecap broke. And that was the end of it. And I came back the next year. I rehabbed about 8 to 10 months. I came back the next season, felt good. Didn't really have any lingering effects. my position coach asked me while I still hadn't been cleared to practice. He asked me to throw passes so he could look at the guy's footwork. Because I was a former quarterback, Tom. So sure enough, I'm throwing passes. Tom, I step and throw a pass, and my kneecap breaks again.
Oh, man.
Same kneecap, man. And, man, I remember telling the trainer, I said, man, I've broken my kneecap again. He said, no way. I said, no, it's the same feeling I had last year. Long story short, I go into Boston. They look at my knee. My kneecap is broken again. Now, this time, Tom, I'm rehabbing, but it's very difficult because they removed, like, the lower third of my kneecap.
Oh,
so the tracking and everything is going to be different now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, long story short, because I'm a football player. That's all I want to do. So I'm going through therapy. I have reconstructive surgery. No, I'm sorry. When I go in, they remove it out. I'm rehabbing from it. Bill Parcells, we're about 8 months into this rehab. It's a 12-month rehab program. Bill Parcells takes the job. I'm running 3 days a week, Tom, trying to get better, right? Trying to get stronger. Parcells comes in, takes the job. He tells the training staff, hey, Dykes needs to run 5 days a week, not 3. Tom, I went out just to try to please him because I want to play. I want to be a football player. I blow out my left knee and tear every ligament in my knee because I'm not strong enough to support myself, see? Mm-hmm. I'm putting all of my weight on my good knee. So I end up tearing my other knee up, and that was the end of it. I've been home ever since then.
Wow.
That's my story.
And you're sticking to it, right?
I'm sticking to it. Yep.
Hey, look, we could go on for hours, and we might one of these days. You and I might just do like a 5-hour podcast.
I'll tell you what, Tom, I want to hold you to something.
What's that, man?
If ever in my lifetime they call me and say, hey, Hart, you coming into the Ring of Honor, I want you to call me.
You want me to be the one to call you?
Yeah, I want you to call to me, okay? You tell them that.
I would be honored to do that. And I wish it was.
It would bring me to tears.
It might bring me to tears just talking to you, though, because that's kind of the way it always was. I mean, you never knew what you were going to say, but you would deserve that, and hopefully we would be able to make that phone call here sooner than later. Hey, we'll stay in touch. Keep an eye on what's going on here, and certainly Saturday will be a big day for Thurman. But I appreciate your time, man. Good stories. Kind of took us back a little bit. And you guys stay safe down there in South Texas. And, as we stay in touch all the time. So I'll let you know. But thanks for joining us today.
Hey, man. Thanks for the call, and thanks for thinking of me to call. Go Pokes.
All right, bud. See ya.
Right. Yep. Bye.
That's Hart Dykes.